All right, another welder from Yeswelder. Let's check it out. TIG 225P. So far I have this really nice plasma cutter they have with an auto. It actually shoots a little flame out when you first start it. These are one of the best ones I've ever used because when it shoots that little flame out, it can burn off some rust versus just a little arc. Also, it kind of burns off like Bondo and stuff like that, so you can cut right into plasma cutting, not be wasting your time trying to grind and stuff. Really cool. So this is another welder that they have, the 205 DS. Really great welder for the beginner, especially because it basically, you set your metal thickness and then it does automatic setting. So it automatically does the wire setting in the heat selector, and you can adjust it so that, you know, for your preferences, but it makes it a lot easier to figure out your settings if you're a beginning welder. I think it's really a great tool to have. So again, we'll unbox this off camera. I'll just show you what's in it. Again, like all the Yeswelder stuff, comes in Ziploc bags. Love it. You know, you can put it back in there if you really want to keep it fresh. So what do we got here in the box? We have two different TIG torches. You got this one and this one. I'm really not sure how that works because it's supposed to do some interesting things here. We're going to find out later. It has a grounding cable, the adapter, 210, 220, 110, a nice, really good quality gas hose, which a lot of them don't have that. And they usually have a really crappy one. It also has a foot pedal, foot switch, and two different of these. We're going to go ahead and get this thing together. There's some reading to do here, so I'll bring you back in. I'm going to go ahead and check it out. It does something different, so we're going to find out what that is. I'll talk to you a little bit later. All right, I got her set up here, and I'm going to show you some of the features of this machine. It's really kind of neat. If you've looked at other TIG welders and had difficulty trying to figure out how to set one up, or maybe you're not very good with the foot pedal, you know, this thing is cool because it kind of does some of that stuff for you. You can set it up in advance. So you got here, you got this button, kind of moves you around. That's off. So stop amps, we could make the stop amps whatever we want, you know. You go through here and you see, I don't know if you can see, hopefully it comes out good in the video. Stop amps, you move this thing around so you have your you know, the whole principle is we use a foot pedal normally, right? This thing does that for you, so you just push a button or step on the clicker. So like right now I'm using this on off switch. It's pretty easy to use and it's in a good place, but if you don't like that, like a lot of guys that TIG weld, they like to use a foot pedal because then, you know, it's all about the steady hand. If you have a steady hand, you can work your way along. So you want to be supported. That's why it's really good to be on a table or something like that. I'm just doing a little bit of sample here with it at 30 amps. And so what this does is it'll do the start and stop for you. So you don't have to, you know, like normally the foot pedal, like on my AHP, it's you push on the foot pedal, and you go down slowly till you floor it all the way. Then you're at full amps, and then when you hit the end, you have to let the pedal off. Okay, so this one kind of does it for you. You pre-program it. So you say start amps to so-and-so, the slope going up, and then you're at full amps, so it'll tell you what you want to start at. And you set that, you set the slope amps, what you want it to be as it's going up. When it goes to the full amperage, what that's going to be. And then I don't know what that one is yet. This one, maybe that's for a different arc welder or something like, or you know, using it for stick welding or something like that. But then you hit here, you got your slope down, okay, and then you go to your stop amps. So you settle that in advance. So you just push the button and hold it while you're welding. And then when you're done, all you do is let off. So it's kind of nice for somebody who's never TIG welded before. It's kind of, I found it to be pretty easy once I got it figured out and set up right. I have the the ground. I had it hooked up backwards first when I was first testing it. I don't know how I missed that. Alright, so all I had was this big thick steel rod, so it just didn't melt in at 30 amps very well. It was like I was able to melt this pretty easy, then as soon as I started dropping rod, it just kind of didn't want to flow in very well. So you got to have the right size rod. I got to go down and get some different rod for sheet metal. I don't know, I wasn't doing any sheet metal with the other one, only some steel, and this is for doing heavier steel with a higher amperage. So real quick, another feature of this welder that I'm going to get into, I'll go down and get some rod, we'll do some real welding on it, and I'll show you what I'm doing. I just wanted to practice with it, and I was like, well, let me just try this, see if it works, and it didn't, of course. But let me try, let's look at this other feature. It has something called cold spot. All right, let's try that. I don't know what we use it at, what amps to use it at, but and it doesn't really have anything that explains it. So let's experiment with it and see what happens. It's a cold spot, you know. So I'm thinking what that sounds like to me is like you can weld something in it, just, you know, to hold it in place. You just do a little, you know. Let's try it. All right, so this cold spot thing is, I don't know what it is, but it's kind of neat. It does is you just like shoots a little quick weld. You got to turn the heat way up past, like if you weld at like 30 amps, you better turn it up to like 250 to just to get a little weld on this, because it just does a really tiny spot weld, really tiny, which is cool for like tacking in parts and things like that. Kind of neat. Yeah, if you're gonna TIG stuff in, you can just tack it in with that, and then it's got to be really tight butt for it to work. I tried lapping it and it wouldn't do anything. I tried it up here. I was trying to lap weld, any gap or anything won't work. But I just did this, so I'll let you guys watch. I'll do a little quick little area of that, and we'll see. Alright, so I was just doing some stuff with it. I can't see right now, though. I had better lighting a little bit ago, and I started burning holes in it because I just couldn't see. Plus my tungsten is getting... I'm going to take it out, sharpen it again. It's like it dulled the hell out of it. So, but yeah, you just got to play around with it. I'm going to try to pump around with the settings a little more and see if I can get a little bit better at it. But that's what that feature does. And it's kind of cool because it holds things in place. Like this is on there. I mean, let me back you guys up here. So that, oh, it's on there pretty good to hold it in place, but it's not a very good weld. So anyway, but that gives you the idea of what to do there. So I'm going to do a little bit more with it. I'll bring it back in. Well, you can see about how many times I missed there. You missed a weld so many times. Look at that. Yeah, that's reality. Yeah, well, you can't see, that's the problem. You know, if you can see better, you can weld better. But this is what happens sometimes. Too close. So I'll show you guys. I mean, biggest problem with me is I just can't see in here. All right, so the biggest problem in here, guys, is I just can't really see very good, but you can see it kind of held it on there with that little method. I just kind of cleaned it up real quick. I turned down the amps to like 160. Yeah, it seems to be. I mean, it could maybe be a little bit colder, but I mean, it's not going to penetrate. Just so you know, that it is a cold weld. It's just enough to kind of hold it in place. I mean, that's not, you could run over that now and clean it up with a TIG, you know, just run a bead over it. It'd be nice. Come out pretty good. Well, it's kind of cool. It holds it in place. I mean, you could do the same thing with the TIG and just, you know, just feather the pedal, and it comes out pretty much the same. And just do one little spot. It does take a while to do, but it's kind of neat. It's a neat feature, and it's just something that, like, if you're going to spot weld stuff in and want to hold it together real quick, because like this, I couldn't clamp this or anything really, so I just held it with my fingers, and I just was able to take it, and then it got a little bit hot after one or two, and then I just used a glove. Once I did one, and I could use like the gloves and hold it, because it would kind of stay in place, and then I could do two or three. So sometimes welding like stuff like this is kind of hard to do, so this thing would be kind of useful there to help you hold stuff in place. Then I would run this again with a bead, because like I said, if you look, all this, like all along here, I missed. This is because I can't see. If I got better lighting and all that, then I can see better. And then that's why I was hitting the tungsten on it, because I couldn't see the end of the tungsten, because I'm blind, I'm old, and I can't see as good as I used to. So in better lighting I can see better, but anyway, that's how that went. Right, so let's try doing a lap weld. I still don't have the correct rod. They didn't have any 1/16, all they have is just 3/32. So I'm going to try to turn up the heat a little bit. You know, like at 30 amps you can weld with a smaller rod, but let's turn it up to like, I'm going to probably need 40 or 50 or so, and see if I can weld that. There you go. That's what happens when you forget to turn the gas on. Hey, when I just don't weld enough with a TIG welder to know what it sounds like when the gas isn't on and stuff like that. Clean that up, take a look at it. Well, I missed a bunch of times. I can see in there, but it's really hard to melt that rod. It can be done. It just takes more practice. And like I said, I don't weld with a TIG welder very often, so another guy who welds with a TIG welder all the time will grab the wrong rod and he'll correct it, no problem. You're used to just dropping it in and melting it in more, playing around with it a little bit more. But I think if I'm at 40 amps, let me try dropping it a little bit to like 35. And I'll just start right here. It's kind of dirty though. That doesn't help with the TIG. Well, check this out. Wherever I've dropped it, you can see a mountain. And I tried to smooth them back in, but it just doesn't work very good. Like I said, I'd need a smaller rod. Somebody else could probably do a better job. But it's welded. It's just not pretty. Like I said, I don't do that kind of welding. I'm not like the welding channel or whatever. I'm not out to try and show you guys how to do perfect weld. I do auto repair, and you know, this thing's cool. It would take some practice, you know, some time for me to get good at it, and I'm not really sure I'm going to have the time for practice. I just got to do stuff. That's why I kind of get frustrated with TIG welding, but it does work good. I mean, the welder's fine. It's just, well, that's all me right there. So anyway, like I said, I've done a bunch of it, but you know, not that much of it, but I've done stuff where I need to use it. Like if I'm doing stainless steel, I'll use a TIG welder, and stuff like that. And my welds look kind of shitty, you know. That's just the way it is, because I don't do it all the time. You do it more, you get better at it, and you get better at dialing in the settings, you know, and getting the right rods. You know, 1/16 I'm going to tell you would be way better to weld this sheet metal with. I mean, I used to do it a long time ago with a gas welder and 30 seconds rod. I use this stuff right here, and I'd use 1/8 and do it. But my welds look kind of crappy, look like that, you know. And it was easier to melt it in with the gas. You get a hotter area, which is really cool because it's really concentrated in one area. But yep, it just comes out kind of crappy for me. But it's not, like I said, it's not the welder. The welder has some cool features. It has that cool little spot welding thing, which is nice to hold stuff in place. You can, like I said, you can just pull the trigger on a TIG and just move it around, and you can melt the two pieces together in place without getting it very hot. Maybe even at 25 amps, or maybe 30. If you have good lighting and you can see the tip, you know, my lighting is terrible right now, and that's kind of what I end up with. Shit. Well, about every time I turn the camera on, I'm in the wrong camera angle. The camera needs to be where I need to be, and it's just not working. But I did this. I mean, that doesn't look too bad, but off camera, of course. So I just can't get the right angle. I need to be running the torch. Let's back you guys up. Running the torch this way and pulling the rod that way. That's what, you know, and it's just like I can't. I mean, when my torch is here, then you guys are looking at my hand, and then when I don't know, it's just not working. Anyway, I got that welded. You know, it got good penetration. You know, it's working good. just can't really do it very well on camera at all. You know, not for me. I'm trying all this different stuff right now to try and get it to look right on camera, and it's just not working. So this might be all we get, but anyway, the welder is pretty neat. You know, it's a neat machine, and that's really why most of the time, guys, I use a MIG welder. And the Yeswelder 205DS is probably one of the easiest machines to use, because you don't have to keep playing with knobs and stuff. You know, a lot of you guys like to TIG weld. I really don't. This is kind of like tedious, slow work, and it's just not something I like to do. So, but you know, I need it when I need it, and when I gotta weld stainless steel and stuff like that, and I do other things, I do it, you know, aluminum. I gotta use one. So, not this one. This one will not do aluminum, but my other one does. And you know, when I need it, I need it. So you know, that's what I have a TIG welder for, is when I need it. You guys that want to use one every day, that's up to you. You know, I mean, that's just, everybody's different. You know, I don't like to do tedious stuff. I don't like to sit there and play with things and make them look all perfect. I'd rather just go through and blast it and make it look as good as I can without doing too much, and then be done with it. You know, a few things I make look really nice, but welds I don't really care usually, because they're buried with filler and whatever. So anyway, but yeah, I can do that. I mean, I can TIG weld it. I could probably do it even better if I just sat there and played with settings and then worked on this for a couple of more hours. But then again, like I said, it's just not really my thing to do that. So anyway, I'll talk to you guys in the next video. Please like, share, and subscribe. Let's hope you enjoyed the welder review. I'll talk to you later.